This is the section about parents' income and benefits. This is probably the one that takes the longest time to complete. It is easiest to do if you have a copy of your federal income tax return. So remember, for this particular application, at the registration step, I said that I had not yet filed a tax return for 2013. So it is telling me in all of these instructions, it's giving me ideas about where to look to estimate those figures. So if you have your 2013 W-2s, if you have your tax return from the previous year, it really makes it a lot easier to fill out this information. So you'll see in the descriptions here for each one of the questions, it's referring you to the information on hand that can help you estimate these figures. Because we said in the registration step that we hadn't yet filed our 2013 income tax return, it's asking us to go look at 2012 to get an idea of what would be a good answer for 2013. So as always, it is perfectly acceptable to put in 0 when the answer is 0, but you don't want to leave it blank. This question, estimate your parents' adjusted gross income. So again, we're estimating because we haven't filed yet. It's giving us some tips about looking at our 2012 tax return. It even tells you exactly which line number from last year's tax return to look at to get an idea of exactly which field that we're talking about. And, by looking at last year's number, looking at this year's documents to see how much of a change you can expect from one year to the next. If things have been pretty consistent, then you can feel comfortable using the same numbers even from the previous years. Again, we're just trying to get an estimate of what the family's income situation is. This is probably the hardest one to do, estimating the income tax that parents are going to be paying. So it's not exactly the same number as the income tax amount that was withheld on their W-2s. People rarely pay that exact same amount. So again, look closely at that previous year's 1040 to get an idea of what the next year's taxes might be. So again, there is help available for many of these questions. There's a lot of detail here to help you understand exactly what we're asking you to complete. So the questions above here are all about the tax return. We ask you here to start looking at what was each individual parent, parent 1 and parent 2, what was their income earned from work, so we can understand those separately. There are some detailed questions that refer to people from the military, for example. So, if those don't apply to you, feel free to put 0 in there. Now we're starting to ask some questions about untaxed income. How much did your family receive directly? A lot of families are just going to be putting 0s in here. This question, the amount of payments paid directly or withheld from earnings to tax-deferred pension and savings plans your parents made or expect to make during 2013 is one that confuses a lot of people. The information is right on your W-2. If you have a W-2, that information will be in box 12 of the W-2. You'll be able to pull those details out. For many families, it's not unusual to see 0s all down this column for this detailed information about untaxed income. But do read through those questions, understand whether they apply to you or not, but don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you feel like you're entering lots of 0s. Let's go on to the next section. So this is parents' income and benefits from the previous year. So that last section was all about the 2013 calendar year's income, and this is just asking greatly simplified questions about 2012 income. just because we want to understand, is your family undergoing changes? Is the situation changing from year to year? And now this section is asking about the expected income during the next year. And again, for most families, this is going to be very similar to the detailed information that you entered for the full calendar year. But this is your opportunity if there is a situation changing for your family, if somebody has lost a job, or if somebody is changing jobs and their income level is going to change. This is where you would reflect that information. And I would also suggest that you provide some explanation for why income is changing dramatically from year to year when you get to the special circumstances section.